Alright guys, this is going to be second video of this little series here. Hopefully you guys checked out the first video. If not, you should probably do that so you're kind of up to speed, but it doesn't really matter if you want to or not, but definitely go check it out, visit the channel and see the other videos I got. But today we are going to be working on this. It is a 1983 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. It is the Hurst Olds package. In the last video, kind of introduced you guys to it. It has been sitting for probably about 12 years or so by the previous owner's guesstimation. And last video we got it up and running for the first time. Just dumping gas on the carburetor and started it up that way. So today we're going to try and mess around with getting it to run a little bit longer than just with the gas and the float bowls. So that's kind of what we're doing here today. Other updates that we got. I was at work today and happened to be on a job site where there was a tire place next door. So in case you also missed the video, we got this little trailer situation going on here that I kind of may or may not have driven 30 minutes with 3 wheels on the trailer. Yeah, we're gonna, we got stuff to resolve that. Got myself some new tires. There they are. So that'll be hopefully somewhat resolved. It's not gonna fix the bent axle, but at least it will roll better. The trailer restoration is kind of a back burner thing. I need to get the car off the trailer first. So anyway, last video kind of talked about the what we were going to do with it at the end of the video there. We stuck a scope down in the gas tank. It looks pretty clean. The gas doesn't smell horrible, and it doesn't look like there's very much in there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a little electric fuel pump on a hose down in there, try and suck out what we can, and then put some fresh fuel in it. Then turn around and put a gas can up front with the electric pump on it to feed the engine, leaving the mechanical pump on the block to pump from the tank into a bucket so we can kind of flush out the fuel lines. That'll also tell us if that that mechanical pump on the engine block is actually working. If it is working, then great. Got stuff flushed out. We can then run it off the gas tank instead of screwing around with the temporary, boat tank or whatever. So that's kind of what the plan is today. Once we get to that point, we can actually see if the transmission works, maybe see if the brakes work. Hopefully they do. I'd like to get it off the trailer, but I don't want to take it off the trailer until I know that it's at least somewhat mobile. And that way I can get this situation over here moved around and get it up on the lift and get a better idea of what we got going on with it. So I am going to take a couple minutes here, get the camera set up, get the fuel pump set up, and we'll work on pumping out that tank and try to make some progress. All right, here's our current situation. I've got a hose pushed down into the fill neck on the gas tank there. I have little faith that it's actually in there enough to catch the gas, but we're going to try it anyway. Goes through the little electric fuel pump down into a bucket. I kind of cleaned the bucket out so maybe we can see how much trash is in there. And then I've just got it hooked up to my little jump pack there that will turn on and hopefully it'll start pumping. Like I said, I don't think it's going to work, but we'll kind of see here. Get you set up and maybe you can see what's going on. Yeah, I got a ton of extra hose in there because in case you haven't bought fuel hose recently, that crap's not exactly cheap by the foot, so we're not cutting it if we don't have to. So, but let's give it a shot and see if anything actually pumps. Like I said, zero faith. Oh, yep, we're getting something. It's it's yellow. It's kind of changing tone on me now. It's still pumping. Hopefully that just means it's getting down where it's at about the end of its hose, so it's getting a little air in there too, because it's coming up pretty bubbly. So that's probably what it is. I mean, it looks bad, but it really doesn't smell horrible, which is surprising. Usually it'll smell pretty rancid if it's old. Alright, I'm pretty sure that it's not good to run these empty. They'll overheat, burn up. So, but that's less crap that's going into our carburetor and all that stuff. So, let me figure out see if I can find a container to put this in other than this bucket, so we can maybe reuse the bucket, and because I don't have any other containers, I don't really hold on to those things, but we'll see if we can get this transferred into something else, and then we'll put a little gas in the gas tank and hook up this whole situation up front. So we got a little pre-filter to catch the big stuff, and we're just going to pump that gas that I put back in the tank through the line and kind of flush it out, and then I think we're just going to go ahead and hook it up to the pump and see if everything works. So I'm going to get the jump pack and just hook this up. Yes, I could just hook it up to the battery over here, but I'd rather just use the jump pack so I have an on-off switch in case there's some sort of catastrophic failure. And we'll see if we can get gas to pump through the factory fuel lines. Alright, I got the jump pack hooked up. Let's kick it on and see if we can get some fuel flow. So I think we're going to call that good. I would like, let me get you moved around here. They've got some sort of a fuel pressure regulator right up here. I would like to kind of flush that, but, and I think the reason they do is it looks like it's a Holley fuel pump. I don't know if they have a higher output or what. But I'm not going to be able to flush through that because I'm not screwing around with these braided lines with the AN fittings and all that crap until I have to. So I'm not real concerned that fuel has been sitting in these lines and rotting it out. Screw it. If it does, I got a carburetor rebuild kit for that carb anyway if I need to, and who knows, we'll deal with it. So we're just going to run it. I am going to leave this filter intact, but I am getting rid of that glass filter that's down in there and just run the replaceable, or the cleanable filter. Is cleanable even a word? I don't know. So I'll get that switched around, get the hose clamps tightened up, and we'll see if we can't start this thing and run it off of its own tank. So just to show you guys, this little filter thing, I took it apart, the other end is sitting over there. But yeah, that could have been in the actual fuel system. So I'm not sure exactly what that is. But I know that we don't want it in our carburetor, so it worked, I guess. I'm gonna blast this out with a little bit of brake cleaner, take that part. I already sprayed, well actually I already sprayed this piece out because there was a few crumbs in there too. So yep, we'll get it put back together and get it on the car and start her up, hopefully. All right, I'm back. You guys didn't realize I was gone, but wife came home from work and she all wanted to talk about her day and all that, so neither here nor there, just joking. I got everything kind of hooked up here. See if we can get you a view of it. I know that there's probably not a whole lot you guys can see here, but we got the new fuel filter in here going down to the fuel pump. I had to replace that line because it was falling apart as I was trying to mess with it. All these gas lines are in poor shape, so we'll hope that we can start it out without starting a fire. Gonna hook up the battery and give it a crank and see what happens with it. It'll have to pump a little bit up, I know, but should have gas pretty close. We were just pumping through that line. Well, let's see what happens. So the battery in the camera decided it had had enough, so it stopped recording. But some of you with more eagle eyes or paying more attention than I might have noticed that this fitting here is not a barbed fitting. So they just had this fuel line hose clamped onto the little end of the that's supposed to go into your braided line, yada yada. This fuel line, rock hard, but it was starting to get a little bit of a trickle of fuel out of this. So I don't know if what the situation is. I'm gonna keep cranking on it, see if we can get her to start. Because I think it technically, I think it's moving fuel. I'll crank on it for a little while, see if we can get it to move enough fuel. But probably gonna go ahead and just fill up the bowls so I'm not running the starter. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. Let's see. Alright, so our current situation is this. The other camera, the SD card died, so I gotta, the SD card didn't die, it's full. So I got to unload everything that I've got so far onto the computer, so I got an SD card to work with. I'm not as big of a fan of this camera that I'm using here right now as I am of the other one, but so we've got it obviously running under its own fuel system and everything. I don't see any real leaks or anything, but there is gas down here under the front tire, and I'm not sure if that's something that I spilled or if that's something else going on there. So we'll have to check that out. I did stick my finger in it. It is gas. It's not brake fluid or anything like that. It does have some sort of significant oil leak down there. While it was running, it's slinging it off of the flywheel there. So it could be rear main is shot from sitting for so long. Who knows? It is what it is. I didn't realize that the SD card was full on the other camera, so I didn't get any of the footage, but you'll see it is still strapped down to the trailer. Not necessarily the way I would have strapped it. That's how the other guy had it strapped, and it was secure, so it made it home. But anyway, it's still strapped on this side. I did get in while it was running, put my foot on the brake. It does have pressure, and I actually shifted it into gear and the transmission engaged. So I think we're good to go with that. Hopefully tomorrow we're going to try to maybe get it pulled off of this trailer and get stuff moved around there, get the Studebaker out of the way and get the Cutlass off of the lift, and see if we can't get this one up on the lift and see what we're dealing with. But I did top off the brake fluid on it. It looks like it's leaking. All right, so I took a day off from working on the Cutlass yesterday just because I didn't have any ambition to work on it. But today I hooked the trailer up to the truck and pulled it outside, out there. Laid down some plastic on the floor here because this thing leaks everything, and I'd prefer to not have it leaking all over my floor. But today we're gonna go ahead and try and get it pulled off the trailer because I'm sick of working on it on the trailer. And because I think it's supposed to rain, and where I have to park the trailer is through my yard. I'd rather not make a bunch of ruts. So, gonna do that, see how that goes. I did start it up the other day. I did put it in gear. It seemed to engage. So I think we're all right there, but I think I'm gonna let it warm up a little bit and then check the actual trans fluid and make sure that it's good to go. Put a little bit in there if I need to, because if it works, I don't want to burn it up trying to get it off the trailer. But I'll get you set up, we'll get it started up, and see how this goes. Using some ghetto ramps that came with the trailer. It's ramps on top of ramps. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I got to build some better ramps for it, but there's other issues with the trailer that need to be solved first. So anyway, get you set up, we'll see how it goes. All right, well, that was the first time it has moved under its own power in 11 or 12 years. I did add a quart of transmission fluid to it, and I don't know if that's enough or too much or what, but better safe than sorry, I guess, to add a little bit. It wasn't really reading on the dipstick, so I feel good it's off the trailer now. I don't feel good about those janky ramps that I just drove down, but whatever, it's off the trailer. So, yeah, now I can spray the trailer off and get it pulled around into my backyard and out of the way. So I don't think I'm gonna do anything else on it here today. We'll see. But yeah, there you have it. First time driven in, like I said, 11 or 12 years. All right, so it's a new day. I decided to pull the Cutlass out of the garage, move the other cars around, see what's sitting on the plastic here. Looks like we have a fairly good sized oil leak there. I fear that that might be the rear main. Got another smaller one up front here. That might just be a pan gasket, or could be the timing cover, who knows. Up there, that's from the power steering area. It's a reddish color, so I don't know if they were using transmission fluid or what. And then there's a small spot of what looks like tranny fluid there, but whatever. Spin you around here. We got it moved over onto the lift. We'll get it raised up and take a look at the bottom side for the first time. All right. Let's get our first look underneath it here. Well, there's our driver's floorboard. We knew that was bad, so that's kind of an is what it is type of a situation. Transmission cross member. Yeah, we don't have the right thing. Screw it. Let's just tack a piece of angle iron in there. That'll need to be addressed. The exhaust looks like holy hell. Not a great situation there. Oil leak. We might not have a rear main seal. It looks like it's actually leaking from around the actual oil filter there, so that might not be so terrible. Transmission leak, maybe. Not 100% certain. Let me close up the garage doors here, get rid of the sun blaring right in my eyes, and grab a flashlight and see what we can see that way. But so far, I mean, passenger floor doesn't look terrible. The rear floorboards don't look bad, so that's all promising. Yeah. Our brake fluid leak was somewhere in this area, not sure where, but somewhere in there. So, but that's kind of the least of my worries. I'm not real concerned about back brakes right now. We just won't fill that part of the reservoir. And then the back, let me slide this stuff forward here. It's got a little bit of rust up there, but not terrible. This exhaust is hideous. Oh no, Ray Charles welded that. I mean, I'm not a welder, but I mean, I don't know. Not the best look. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like the rear diff's seeping a little bit. There's that unfortunate 7.5 inch, but not a big deal. It does have the factory sway bars on it. Like I said in I think one of the earlier videos, it's got air shocks. So the frame though, the frame is looking pretty good. This is usually where they kind of rust out, and both sides are looking fairly solid. So usually go right back here where the tires throw a bunch of crap up. So those aren't looking hideous. We might be all right with those. Same on this side, not too terrible. But let me get that garage door closed and get a flashlight on it, get a little bit better light. The sun's kind of washing stuff out. Alright, so we're going to start at the front of the vehicle here. Got a flashlight here to kind of help out a little bit. First things first, I knew that the bumper was pushed back in. My concern was that maybe this frame horn might be tweaked, but it looks like it's good. Looks like it's just, they've got this little, I don't want to call it a shock, but kind of a shock type of thing up there, so that's just pushed back. So we should be able to get a new one of those, push the bumper back out where it belongs. So that's not a big deal. The front oil leak, it looks like we might just have a bad pan gasket there. So that's not a huge issue. I mean, unfortunately, the motor will have to be probably pulled to fix it. There's our goofball mounts that somebody has put in there. Those are looking pretty bad. I'm not sure what the deal is with that one, why it's so much or so different, but whatever. Fuel pump looks like it possibly has some sort of a slight leak, but that could have been slung from somewhere else. Not sure. Power steering leak is probably from this braided line here that they've got just hose clamped up on there. That could be what's leaking, because the rest of the pump doesn't look significantly wet, so not terrible. Not really seeing any leaks further up, at least nothing significantly noticeable. Getting into the back here, it is awful wet around that oil filter, and the fact that it is dripping down the oil filter, that I think is a source of a significant leak. In the pan gasket in general on the oil pan there, looks pretty wet. I'm not seeing a bunch of oil on the flywheel, so that's making me think that it's not coming from the rear main. But there's significant dripping down the pan, so I'm thinking that's probably the pan gasket. It has leaked significantly just sitting here. Transmission, again, looks like the pan is leaking, and also where the TV cable goes or comes out, that looks like it's got a significant leak. Possibly that upper line. I know that thing's a bear to get to tighten up, but not terrible. Not as bad as I had thought could be potential. That is some ghetto crap right there. I don't know what in the hell they were thinking. I mean, the whole underside of this thing is kind of patched together. I'm not super impressed with any of it. But all in all, not the end of the world, I don't think. At this point, I'm thinking this is salvageable. Yeah, I mean, it's got surface rust. It's a Midwest car, so that doesn't surprise me. Looks like we got maybe some rust in the floorboard up there, so probably at least the front pans will have to be done. But the back looks pretty solid, not too terrible. Seems to be missing the loop it's not really a loop in these, it's more of a just a steel brace that goes from here to here on these for your drive shaft. That's MIA. Yeah, I mean, in general, it's not as bad as I thought it possibly could be. So, we'll work with it. I think it's worth saving. I mean, you may look at this, especially you guys down in the Southwest, would be looking at this going, that's a complete lost cause rust bucket. But here in the Midwest, this is, I think, still considered salvageable. So, especially if you and I don't want to say this particular car has any sentimental value to me, but the Hurst Olds, I've always wanted one, like I said before, so I think we'll see if we can fix it. But man, that is, you can tell how crooked that engine is in there, especially if you look at that transmission pan. Wow, that's crooked as hell. See if I can get you a better angle at it. Yeah, that's bad. And that's these mounts that they've got up in there that are ghetto as all hell. So I'm thinking probably the best thing to do with it is probably going to be pulling the motor out. Yeah, pull the motor out, get it mounted in there properly while we've got it out. Get some new mounts, get those ones ground out, get some new mounts on the motor, seal it up, and then kind of go from there. I think what I'm going to do, if you remember in the first video, there's a few quarts of, they're brand new, but they're old, quarts of ATF that were left in the car. I mean, I could dump seafoam into the engine or into the crankcase and whatnot to kind of break up any crud that might be in there, but ATF does kind of the same thing and came free with the car. So, and we're still a little bit low on oil. I did put a quart in it before we ran it in the first video, just because it was pretty low, not dangerously low per se, but it was pretty low. So I added a quart there, but I still got probably about a quart till it hits the full mark. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this ATF in there. I'm gonna put it up on the lift, or raise it up here, and I'm gonna take some brake cleaner and kind of spray around everything that's covered in oil and wipe it down. Then I'm gonna start it up and let it run and get warm, let it work that ATF through it, and get some temperature in it, and then we're gonna go ahead and see if we can see where it's leaking oil from, and then, you know, unless it's something major, because I thought it was the rear main that was leaking, but it doesn't look like it's wet that far up. So it might just be the pan, and it might just be while it's under, you know, putting out oil pressure and splashing around in there, that's where it's leaking from. It also kind of looked like it may not have the right oil filter on it, and it may be leaking from there. So we're gonna see. If it's something simple like that, we'll go ahead and give it an oil change. Otherwise, if it's something major, I don't know that I want to waste my time putting fresh oil in it. We might just, well, we'll put something in it. I've got oil we'll put into it, but I'm not gonna waste a whole bunch of money when the motor's gonna have to come out anyway. That's all there is to it. We got to fix that motor mount situation, and eventually it might get an LS in it anyway. But for right now, that's what we're gonna do. ATF, wipe it down, heat it up, check for leaks, drain it. So there we go. All right, we got some paper towels, a couple cans of brake clean. By the way, if you live anywhere near a Menards, brake clean, a lot cheaper there than it is at parts stores. So check that out. It's obviously in the automotive section. So got the good old chrome oil pan here, so it goes faster. I make fun of them, but my other Cutlass has one too. It was on there when I bought it, or on the motor. The motor itself wasn't in there when I bought it, so, but the motor had it on it. Safety squints. All right. that's enough of that. Let me go grab some safety glasses. I didn't even think about it until now. All right, now we're safe. Now I'm kind of curious. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get a good view of it for myself, much less for you guys. But it almost looks like the oil's leaking from up above the oil filter. And if I remember correctly, there is a threaded opening in the block up there. I think it's for like a pressure gauge or something like that. I wonder if that's not sealed real well. That wouldn't be too horrible to fix. Well, maybe once the motor's out it won't be too horrible, but do have some fresh-ish looking oil over here on the starter bolts and the transmission, but I'm wondering if whatever's leaking isn't, because I could see it flinging off of the flywheel there. And I'm just wondering. I don't know, it doesn't look wet that high. It's been a few days, so we're going to give it a little bit of a drink here. Go ahead and raise her back up. See if we can see anything leaking. I can already see stuff leaking on the ground, so let's see where it's coming from. Couldn't handle the ridiculously high idle that it had before. It was idling at like 1100 RPM, so it took a minute to go ahead and knock it down to 750. Sounds a lot more reasonable now. I'm not sure if you could tell. You should have been able to tell because it dripped oil right on the camera, but it's leaking right from the seal on the oil filter, so I think we're good to go. What's happening is it's dropping on that. The fan is pushing air back, blowing it into the firewall, or into the flywheel, and that's spinning it all over the place, including onto the exhaust. That's why we're getting a smoke show. So it should be a pretty simple fix. I think we'll be good to go ahead and change the oil out. Alright, I'm going to call that good for temperature. We'll go ahead and raise her up and dump the fluids. Well, I think it's safe to say that is a significant oil leak there. Because that was not there just a minute ago. So, yeah, let's get that fixed. But, yep, it is definitely leaking around the oil filter. See it up in there. Except for the bad lighting and poor and crazy reflections. But I think first things first, I'm gonna sop that up so that I'm not stepping in it and call it good. And this is gonna be a first for me, guys. I have not had a lift for long, so I have never used this. I do know that the valve needs to be opened though. So, I've always just done my oil changes with jack stands and making a mess all over the place. So we'll see if we can do it with a lift and making a mess all over the place. I think I'm going to lower the car down a notch or so. That might be a little bit easier for me to actually hit the target goal there. So, I'm going to find a wrench and get her drained. Oh, this is so much easier than laying in the driveway making a mess. Alright, so we're going to pretend like it didn't happen, that I just went to walk away from this, kicked it out of the way, dumped oil all over the damn floor, and had to clean it up right after I turned off the camera. We're going to pretend like that didn't happen. Wow, look how clean it is. Change the oil like this. That's awesome. You should get a lift and do it like this. There, now we're all on the same page. So we're still waiting. It's still kind of dripping. And I started thinking, you know, the engine is sitting at that ridiculous angle. So I think what I'm going to do, since it's still going to have oil sitting in the lower spot there, and I know it's not much, but it's oil sitting in there. I'm going to drag the air hose over. I'm going to utilize the lift here and see if we can't lift up one side of it, kind of straighten it up a little bit. See if we can't get a little bit more oil out of it and call it good. I know, it's trivial, but we're gonna try it, at least. Okay, I realize that it's not the right thing to do, but it is working. And I am not standing underneath the lift right now, just in case something goes horribly awry. But I'm just hoping I'm getting this in the shot here. So, I'll explain what's not right about this. So we got an extension on one, jacking it up from a point we probably shouldn't be. We got nothing over here. I do have safety third though. I have chocks on the wheels, so I tried. It ain't gonna roll anywhere but off of the lift. It's in gear. It's fine, but it did work. It is sitting level and it is draining now, so there's something to be said for doing it wrong, I guess. I'm still alive so far, but we'll let it drain the rest of the way and I'll bring you back for the rest. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I don't know what it is with guys in these 204Rs always losing the inspection cover off of them. They're always gone. You will not find a 204R that still has the damn inspection cover on. Where do they go? Why do they keep getting taken off anyway? I don't get it. But if you have the, what is it, the 250C, whatever the 3-speed transmission is, it came behind the 6 cylinders in the Cutlasses at least. If you have one of those and you're swapping it out for a 204R, you can make that cover work on these. And supposedly that somebody makes a plastic cover for them, but I've seen where guys say they don't fit worth crap on these. I don't know, haven't tried them. But I do know that the 250C or whatever it is, that crappy little 3-speed one, you gotta take a little bit of, you gotta do a little bit of massaging with a set of 10 snips, and I believe that was around the starter. It needed trimmed out a little bit. And then I think you had to drill one hole on it. I think for one of these lower 2 bolts, it wasn't in the right space, but I want to say there was like an indentation or something in it where you knew right where to drill it. Like I said, super easy, so that's something to keep in mind for you guys that are probably missing one of these covers because some idiot took it off and didn't put it back on. So, all right, let's we'll get the light out of here, get the camera moved, get some oil in it, start her back up. Well, if it is still leaking, it's nowhere near as bad. So that's promising. What about our fitting there? Top fitting's still dry, so that's good. That was freshly damp before. So yeah, that might have resolved a good portion of our issues. So I'm relatively pleased with that. At this point, it might be time to, oh, I gotta get an air filter for it still. I forgot to pick that up at O'Reilly's. Once I get that on, I might take it down the road for a spin and see how it does. Technically, it's still within 30 days of buying it, so it should be covered under other insurance. Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, it's probably where I'm going to stop this for now. Maybe not the end of the video, but the end for today. The speedometer is way off. It says we're going 75 and I don't even think we're going 55. She hasn't found 4th gear yet. So that's not right. Well, maybe that was fourth gear. Maybe he's got this sucker geared down real low. We're in first now. Some pretty mint donuts, though. I'll say that much. If that is fourth gear, we're gonna have to figure out what that gear ratio is, because this sucker ain't going out on the interstate unless this attack is way off. But it doesn't sound like it's off. This sounds like she's running about 3,000 RPM. I'd like to see it closer to 2,000 or 2,500 on the interstate, going 65, 70. That's just me personally. Alright, now we get to go look and see what all's leaking. Hey guys, I'm gonna be real honest with you. It's probably been 3 weeks or so since I've even touched the Cutlass. After that video where I took it for a quick drive, I've just been busy with work and everything, so I haven't gotten a chance to edit a video, I haven't gotten a chance to work on the car, none of that, so catch you up to speed a little bit here. The test drive for the most part went alright. Obviously, like you saw in there, the car wasn't hitting fourth gear, and I got to thinking about it afterwards, and I think what that may have to do with is that janky TV cable alignment that's in there, that if you watched the first video, you saw that. We're going to resolve all that. I highly doubt that of all of the gears in the transmission that it shelled out fourth gear. That's probably not the case. So we should be able to get that sorted out. I feel fairly confident. Other than that, the transmission shifted fine. It's definitely not a performance valve body that's in there. So it's probably out of just a normal passenger vehicle. But that's okay. It seems to shift decently. As far as the plans with the car are concerned, I think we're gonna do kind of, it's a little bit backwards in my mind. It makes sense financially, but to look at it from the outside in, it may not. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to pull all the front end off of this, pull out this engine and transmission, fix all the jankiness that's going on with the motor mounts and the cross member for the transmission and all of that crap, clean it up, throw a coat of paint on it while we're in there, may as well, and put this motor and transmission back in it, hopefully in time for next spring, and kind of drive it around next summer, enjoy it or whatever, and figure out what all the vehicle itself needs before we start throwing, say, an LS in there. I have found 1 or 2 LSs and either 4L60 or 4L80 transmissions for sale on Marketplace. The ones that I was interested in, of course, somebody swooped up and got before me, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not in a rush to do that. But I am definitely considering doing that. So the plan is to spend money, but not a whole hell of a lot, on basically getting this thing to where it stops leaking all of its fluids all over the place. And still be mobile and drivable for a while, and then maybe pick up an LS for a reasonable price and whatever transmission to go behind it, and kind of, while this is still drivable with its current drivetrain, have that, getting that ready to go and be able to possibly fire it up outside of the vehicle and make sure everything works on it before we then go rip this out and tackle my personal first LS swap would be what it would be. So that's kind of the plans with it. If you want to hang out and kind of follow along with that, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, and then you'll kind of know what happens and when. I'm not going to be super fast with getting videos out on it. That's why I recommend hitting the notification, because I've got a real job and I don't necessarily put out a video the same day every week like a lot of other guys do, because I'll put them up when I have time to put them up, but I'm trying to do better with filming stuff for you guys. So like I said, like and subscribe, follow along. Until then, have a good one.
Yeah.